Hi guys, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we're gonna talk about St. John's Wort. Okay? It's a really cool... Ah! Otis, you scared the crap out of me. Come here, buddy. I thought he was a squirrel, like an oversized giant squirrel. There's a frog up in my tree. And I gotta look up what frogs mean, but it's been croaking at me all day, and I think, Otis, don't get that frog, he's precious. So this is St. John's Wort. Let me open it up and smell it and tell you what it... Oh god, there's a food smell at the end, like spice. First it smells like hay, like a farm, and then at the end, it smells like, old kitchen spices that have just like aren't very fragrant, but just like, because Peggy always has old kitchen spices that are way expired, it kind of smells like that and hay. That has a good smell, and I would definitely like it in an herbal tea, I guarantee it, as long as it didn't have a bitter flavor. But if it was medicinally good enough, and we're going to talk about that, then I probably would. So another way you can get this, if you don't get it in just the herb form, is you can get it in a tincture form. Now, these used to be, like 10 years ago, they used to be like 12 bucks a piece. And all this is pure grain alcohol and some of that herb, and it just sat for months and months, and they shaked it, and then they shook it, and then they strained it. And I'm going to do a video on tinctures, and in this video I'm going to show you the setup for tinctures, okay? So, because I went in the other day, and this and skullcap was $27, guys. All you need to do is get a giant bulk thing from Star West Botanicals or Mountain Rose Herbs. Those are the two best places in my opinion. Or your local metaphysical shop, or your local apothecary, or you can go online and order it. Or you can forage it, but I don't know how to forage it or grow it. So next year I think we might try to grow it. But basically what I'm saying is, this could add up to this. With this bottle of pure grain alcohol, it just sitting in here, that could be worth like $800 because it would fill up this much. And how you get it out, so you let it, you'd keep the herb up to here, you'd pour alcohol in so it covered the herb, okay? And then you'd let it sit and you shake it a little bit every day. You shake it a little bit every day, like twice a day. And you can keep it on your altar. That's what I do. Keep it like next to a candle so your spirits are there with it. But we'll do a video on tinctures. What I'm telling you is that you don't have to spend $27 on this. You can spend $17 on this and $10 on this and make an $800 quality and sell the rest on Etsy or give it to your friends, you know. Make little jars of it. Just try it out. Right now, I'm doing like, in here is raw Bragg's apple cider vinegar instead of alcohol, okay? Because I want my daughter to be able to have it. And then elderberries and echinacea. And I'm going to strain this with a cheesecloth and make you take a little bit every day and you won't get sick. So I don't know if you can see that super well. But see the herbs in there? They're just soaking and soaking and soaking and soaking and soaking for weeks. And the vinegar or the alcohol just extracts all that out. So I'm excited to do a tincture video. But right now we're just going to talk about St. John's Wort, okay, from some books. And I'm going to jump into just like the medicinal aspects first. Normally I talk about, you can't see my taxidermy. Normally I talk about the magical aspects first. His name is actually John. That's why I brought him out for the St. John's Wort video. My neighbor across the street, Lisa, she said you could have this, and on the back of the piece of taxidermy, well, I want to introduce him in a video, but it's very old, okay? And it's interesting because it's just the neck mount. There's just the head. There's no actual neck, so it's kind of a rare mount. So John's here with us. Sorry that I didn't announce you before, dear. Okay, so let's talk about St. John's Wort. Medicinally, there's a lot here, and right now we're talking from David Hoffman, who I assume is a doctor or naturopath. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just reading from this book. Okay, so St. John's Wort. The entire plant above ground should be collected when in flower and dried as quickly as possible. Its actions as a nervine tonic, an anti-inflammatory, and astringent and vulnerary. Indication, so that means when you want to use it, I believe. It's indicated when taken internally, it has a sedative, restorative, and pain-reducing effect. Okay? Good for pain, putting you asleep. That's fantastic. Which gives it a place in the treatment of neuralgia, anxiety, tension, and similar problems. With its tonic action on the whole nervous system, it may be used freely in nervous debility and stress. It is especially regarded as an herb to use where there are menopausal changes triggering irritability and anxiety. So if you have a woman going through menopause, St. John's wort is great for the irritability, or even a woman in premenstrual, right? Irritability. Definitely. Definitely be hanging on to this for that, you know, ladies. And gentlemen, have it for you, ladies. Be like, here, I have something magical that will help you. And medicinal. Great. Okay. Back on track, Jennifer. Back on track. Changes triggering, just a minute. I'm just going to start reading from somewhere and we'll get back on track. When it's tonic action to the nervous system, triggering irritability and anxiety. It is recommended, however, that it is not used when there is marked depression. Okay, so if you have those things but you have depression, don't use it. Which doesn't make sense to me because anxiety and depression usually go hand in hand, and even a doctor will tell you that. So I don't know. I don't know, David Hoffman, I don't know. In addition to neuralgic pain, it will ease fibrosis, sciatica, and rheumatic pain. Externally, it is a valuable healing and anti-inflammatory remedy. As a lotion, it will speed the healing of wounds and bruises, varicose veins, and mild burns. That's fantastic. I love that. That's great. Hi, you guys. As a lotion. Oh yeah, right. This is important too. As a lotion, it will speed the healing of wounds and bruises, varicose veins, and mild burns. The oil is especially used for the healing of sunburn. Cool, John. I love it. I love it. Okay, combination. For stress and debility, it goes well with... Where did you go, mister? Where did it go? Skull cap. Why does... Oh, there it is. I was sitting on it. It combines well. St. John's wort and skullcap. Okay, you guys. I'm a dork. I was sitting on it and couldn't feel it. Who's the princess and the pea? Me! Do you guys know that story, the princess and the pea? If you don't, it's laughable. Okay, for stress and debility, it goes well with skullcap and many other nervines. For healing the skin, it has well-deserved reputation with marigold petals. You guys, so I have marigolds in my garden. I'm always talking about them. I'm always using them in spells. You can put those little tiny petals. They're so cute. I could run and get one, but I don't want to run away from the video. Preparation and dose. So for healing the skin, it has well-deserved reputation with marigold petals. So add St. John's wort with marigold petals to heal the skin of, you know, bruises, cuts, wounds, etc. All the things that were mentioned there. Preparation and doses. Infusion. Pour a cup of boiling water into 1 to 2 teaspoonfuls of the dried herb. And leave to infuse for 10 to 15 minutes. This should be drunk 3 times a day. External use. See the section on the skin care in chapter 6. Tincture, take 1 to 4 milliliters of the tincture 3 times a day. This is a tincture, and when I was talking about putting this with alcohol or with Bragg's vinegar into a bottle, you make your own tincture, okay? And that's what I'm going to show you guys how to do. You strain it with cheesecloth. So now we're on to another book because we're done with Herbal Handbook. That was really great information, David Hoffman. Thank you. And I'm using these bay leaves as bookmarks. It's so cool. Smells amazing. Okay, so in this book, The Plant Spirit Familiar by Christopher Penczak, on St. John's Wort, is the healing end of the spectrum for 5-petaled flowers. Most magical practitioners who find this flower immediately feel both of its medicinal and spiritual power, despite its being an unassuming little herb. Its purpose is to bring the light in, both through its bright yellow flower and through its leaf, perforated to let more light through it, hence its Latin name, really guys, Hypsirum faticum, I'm sorry. As light through it, hence its Latin. As a tincture and a tea, it heals depression, letting spiritual light uplift the user. As an oil, its blood red color heals trauma and injury. So I guess when we add it to oil, it's going to make a bright red color. But I'm not using it as an oil, but I guess if you did, that's pretty interesting, you know? I guess it does definitely have a red tinge to it. Yeah, it's totally ginger under there. Just like you, John. John's kind of the same color. Look. Totally. That's funny. Love you, buddy. Alright, so, it heals depression, letting light uplift the user. That's funny because in the medical book it said not to use it for depression, but in here magically it's saying you can. So, but that's two totally different things, medicinally and magically, you know. Okay. As an oil, its blood red color heals trauma and injury, those physical darknesses that enter the body. As a flower essence, it heals. Come on. As a flower essence, it heals nightmares and depression. That's awesome. As a spirit, it does all this and more. It is protective, blessing, and healing on all levels. St. John's Wort is at the peak of its power near midsummer. So, we've passed midsummer. I'm guessing that's like end of July. But good, really good information. I'm really happy with this book I got. It's talking about using plants as familiars rather than animals as familiars. And I feel like my mugwort plant, because it's a generational, like it's had seeds that have gone to seed, we made a new plant, you know, it's a generational plant. That's a part of me, you know, that's a part of, whew, that's a deep part. So if you have plant familiars, I mean, it's almost the same as animals, but like in a different way, like as far as your joining of souls, you're so connected, you meditate, you not pet the plants, but you talk to them and love them, and they grow for you. So another page on it's called The Light of St. John's Wort. St. John's Wort humble power is a catalyst for spiritual change. It helps bolster the energy body with light, and I try to work with it whenever I am preparing for a bigger ritual or transformation. It is also very healing after any type of trauma or injury to the body or spirit. This ritual helps us let in more light and more consciousness, and works well if done soon after the yarrow armor ritual, which I'm assuming is in here. Yarrow will help you build the container of your energy body, and St. John's Wort will help you fill the container with light. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because my yarrow and my St. John's Wort have always just stayed on the shelf together because they're both in these giant bottles that I ordered from Star Wars Botanicals. Amazing. Yeah, that's so cool that they want to be together and they just ended up together in my room. They both tend to grow near each other and bloom at roughly the same time near midsummer. Locate blooming St. John's Wort and sit before it. Make an offering. Like Lady's Mantle, it is another very generous plant. I gotta get one of these plants next year for sure. Next spring, you know. It's a very generous plant, and while it has told me no offering is necessary, I found in the plants talking to him, I found offerings of simple, cool water to be very welcomed by it. Just love that, you guys. I love the connection to plants. Ask permission to take a leaf. I always do, and I always say thank you. And when you have it, hold the leaf up to the sun. Gaze through the pores of the leaf. There's no pores, but gaze through the pores of the leaf. Hold it up to the sun. Named Hyperum prophaticum because its leaves are perforated, or seem to be. They let tiny pinpricks of light through them, yet the leaves have not been damaged at all. Thus, St. John's wort lets more light through your own energy body without damaging you. Gaze at the blooming yellow flowers, 5-petaled like the witch's star. That is cool too. Bow your head before St. John's wort. This is truly the sun god in one of its many plant forms. So, raw, you know, raw. Any of the sun gods that you love, really, but mine is raw. And raw is super fun to say. Raw! Alrighty. Jennifer, get back. Thus, St. John's wort lets more light through your own energy body without damaging you. So it's kind of a metaphor, like that leaf is a metaphor. Gaze at the blooming yellow flowers, 5-petaled like the witch's star. Bow your head before St. John's wort. This is truly the sun god in one of its many plant forms. This is one of his most humble and powerful forms, overlooked by the unwise as a weed. She's a weed! Bowing our crowns toward it helps us emulate its own humanity. Feel the light of the flowers flow into your crown. Feel the light open up your own psychic pores, and the aura and the body like opening window shades. St. John's wort doesn't destroy boundaries or create holes, but rather clears windows for light to pass through freely whenever it is needed. The aura fills with light. Any areas of illness or dis-ease fills with light. You become a miniature sun. I've found this ritual to be so simple and profound that it is beyond words for me. The communication is through energy and intention. I have noticed that afterwards I tend to attract bees, though none have ever stung me. This ritual conveys a feeling of optimism and brightness. Everything is going to be all right, no matter the outcome. It is then our duty to carry that optimism out into the world, to be a beacon of light for others to see and from find inspiration. The rituals above tend to focus on the balms, a safer place for most of us to start. Use them to inspire similar rituals amongst the banes and trees of other spirits. This book is rad. I think you should get it, or at least check it out. That was a lot of really cool information, and that didn't come from Scott Cunningham. And, you know, I've got a lot to say from Scotty as well, but great book. I definitely recommend that. Okay, we're at 18 minutes. Okay, Scotty, what's going on with St. John's wort? There's a lot to say here, guys. A lot. Okay. Folk names: amber, fuga demanium, Latin, scaredevil, goatweed, herbajon, johnswort, klamathweed, sol teresus, tiptonweed. Gender, masculine. Planet, the sun. Element, fire. Deity, Baldur. Powers: health, protection, strength, love, divination, and happiness. Magical uses. St. John's wort wards off fevers and colds. Makes soldiers invincible and attracts love. Makes soldiers invincible. Make an amulet for your loved one that's in the service. If it's gathered on midsummer or on a Friday and worn, it will keep mental illness at bay and will also cure melancholy. You guys, I have a few friends that are dealing with some mental issues. I know you're watching. The eagle's flying up there again. So rad. And I know that you're watching, so raw. There's a giant eagle just scoping over the lake right now. It was in a video the other day too. I can't tilt you guys up because you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. I guess you have to trust me. Love you, Ra. Basta. So it's gathered on midsummer or on a Friday and worn to keep mental illness at bay and will also cure melancholy. When placed in a jar and hung by a window, St. John's wort protects against thunderbolts, fire, and evil spirits. Both flowers and leaves are used for this purpose. It is also dried over the midsummer fires and hung near the windows to keep ghosts, necromancers, and other evildoers from the house. So you could literally get this jar, put some St. John's wort in it, put a string around it, and hang it by your door. Yeah, it would look super witchy, but it's gonna do the trick. It's gonna help. You could put a little cloth over it. You could paint the outside, make it look like an art project. I don't know, but just do it, you guys. And then people will learn. You know, they'll ask you, "What is this? What's that for?" And that's really cool. If you're close enough to them, share. You know. Okay. Necromancers and other evildoers. And it is burned to banish spirits and demons. So if you have spirits in your house, or you really need a big cleanse, you think you have demons, burn this in your big cauldron in your house, safely with water. Okay. Any part of the herb placed beneath the pillow allows unmarried women to dream of their future husbands. That's really cool. Used in rituals or carried to detect other magicians. One at a time it was held in the mouth. At one time it was held in the mouth of accused witches to attempt to force them to confess. So they literally used to put this in the mouth of who they thought was witches, and they were doing witchcraft to get witches to confess? What? That doesn't even make sense. I mean, I know it's real. I'm not saying that what Scotty says isn't right. It is. But it's just so weird and so wrong and so hypocritical, alright? Thank God there are no witch trials today. I mean, I love being able to do this, be out in my yard, post on YouTube, tell people in real life. I mean, you share, it's a great thing. Okay, now we're on to Magical Herbalism by Scott Cunningham, and he has a little snippet on St. John's wort. Folk names, I think we heard them before: Herbajon, John's wort, Fugadimanium, goatweed, Tiptonweed, amber, Klamathweed. Gender, hot. Planet, sun. Element, fire. Part used, the herb. Basic powers, protection and exorcism. Specific uses, now there might be some double ups from the last book. Hang around the neck to ward off fevers. Burn to banish and exorcise spirits. Pass the herb through the smoke of the Midsummer Eve's fire and then hang it up in the house as protection. Now we didn't hear that in the last book, did we? Pass it through the smoke of a Midsummer Eve's fire. And then hang it up the house as protection. I might do that, and I might make a video on that. At one time, this herb was held to the mouths of accused witches to make them confess. Wear the herb to make you invincible in war and battles of all kinds. Bear St. John's wort to strengthen your own will. It says a lot of the same stuff, but at least he rephrased it. In those Raven G comparison books, it was the exact same text from one book to another. It's like, sorry, but aren't you writing a new book? Don't you have more new information? Because as soon as I'm done making a video, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot to say that. So I'm going to tip you down really quick so that you can see like kind of what's going on with the tinctures and what we'll be doing here. So this is a big bottle of 100% grain alcohol. This is what we're making, and you can get these and then have empty bottles to put them in, or you can get these online and just have a bunch of empty bottles with no labels. That's what I would actually do, but you could do whatever. You have this little bottle that's all clean and ready to go. We have our herb of any kind, and if you guys want to know, pick an herb and I can do a video on it, please put them in the comments. I'm just doing what I've got in my garden, what I've got on my shelf, randoms, you know. Alright, so, and then I'll show you how I'm going to strain this Bragg's apple cider cold tincture. So come back and join me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch. Have a beautiful day, you guys. I love you.